If a single biological urge can command your hands, hijack your focus, and force you to trade your self-respect for 20 seconds of chemical relief, you do not own your life. 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus asked a brutal question. If a man commands legions, rules an empire, but cannot control his own private appetites, is he a king, or is he merely a decorated slave? Most people try to fight lust and compulsive cravings with raw willpower. That is why they fail. The ancient Stoics did not rely on brute force. They used ruthless cognitive techniques to strip desire down to its bare physical reality until the craving lost all power over their mind. This is the definitive ancient blueprint to kill compulsive urges, reclaim your dopamine, and become psychologically untouchable. As the supreme ruler of the Roman Empire, Marcus Aurelius possessed absolute power. Every luxury, every banquet, and every physical pleasure known to the ancient world was available to him at a moment's notice. He had only to gesture with his hand, and any appetite could be instantly satisfied. Yet, in Book 6 of his personal journal, Meditations, Marcus recorded one of the most ruthless cognitive strategies ever written. He called it the discipline of seeing things as they truly are. Modern psychologists now refer to this as decatastrophizing and cognitive deconstruction. Marcus realized that compulsive desire derives its power from poetic exaggeration. When a craving takes hold of your brain, your imagination creates an illusion. It paints the object of desire with false majesty, transforming a primitive biological urge into an irresistible, all-consuming necessity. To destroy this mental spell, Marcus forced his intellect to describe every temptation in its barest, rawest, physical reality without ornament. When served the finest and most expensive Falernian wine, he did not allow his senses to be enchanted. He told himself plainly, "This is nothing more than fermented grape juice." When wearing his imperial robes of Tyrian purple, the ultimate symbol of Roman wealth, he reminded himself, "This is merely sheep's wool dyed in the blood of a shellfish." And when confronted with the blinding urge of sexual lust, Marcus stripped away the romantic haze and observed the biological mechanism with clinical detachment. It is nothing more than the friction of a piece of gut and the expulsion of a little mucus accompanied by a convulsion. This is the ancient Stoic discipline of Phantasiai cataleptike, stripping the mask from reality. Desire relies entirely on the golden frame your mind builds around it. When you feel a compulsive urge rising, your imagination begins generating vivid, hyper-stimulating scenarios to compel your surrender. The Stoic antidote is immediate, clinical dissection. Strip the thought of its emotional poetry. Strip away the dopamine promises. Look directly at the physical mechanics. What is an urge, in truth? It is merely a temporary fluctuation of neurotransmitters in the prefrontal cortex, a biological signal designed for reproduction that has been hijacked by modern overstimulation. When you strip the illusion bare, the craving loses its divine power and stands before you as nothing more than a passing physical friction. Born into slavery in the eastern provinces of Rome and physically crippled by a brutal master, Epictetus understood psychological confinement intimately. He taught that human freedom does not depend on outward circumstances, but entirely on how we handle our internal impressions. In his discourses, Epictetus identified the precise point of failure where a man surrenders his sovereignty, the failure to separate the impression from the assent. In Stoic psychology, an incoming thought, sensation, or sudden urge is called a phantasia, a mental impression. Epictetus reminded his students that experiencing a sudden flash of desire is entirely natural. The human nervous system is an ancient biological instrument. When triggered by visual cues, boredom, or physical stress, the brain will automatically produce an impulse. The heart may beat faster, the temperature of the body may rise, the attention may narrow. This initial wave is involuntary. It is biological static. It carries no moral guilt, and it does not make you weak. The disaster occurs in the next split second, when the untrained mind grants that impression its assent. In Greek, synkatathesis. Assent is the moment your conscious intellect agrees with the impulse and declares, "I must have this. I must act on this." Epictetus taught his students to treat an intrusive urge like an uninvited stranger knocking violently at the city gates. Do not let the force of the impression sweep you away. Stand your ground and say to the thought immediately, "Wait for me a moment. Impression? Let me see what you are and what you represent. Let me test you before I open the gates and invite you inside." The undisciplined mind experiences a spark of craving and instantly turns it into a raging fire. The Stoic, however, inserts a tactical pause. When a compulsive desire strikes, do not panic and do not immediately obey. Enforce a mandatory 3-minute delay. In that deliberate space between the arrival of the impulse and your decision to act, reason returns to the driver's seat. You remind yourself that you are the conscious observer of the thought, not the thought itself. An impression cannot force your limbs to move. It cannot force your hands to reach for a screen or indulge a weakness. It can only present a suggestion. You hold the ultimate veto power. When modern men attempt to overcome compulsive habits and lust, they almost always make a fatal psychological mistake. They try to defeat the urge through brute mental warfare. They sit in a room, clench their teeth, tighten their fists, and scream internally, "I will not think about this. I must stop this craving." Modern neuroscience and ancient Stoicism arrive at the exact same conclusion. Whatever you resist with panic and hyperfixation, you inevitably magnify. In psychology, this is known as the ironic process theory. When you force yourself not to think about a thought, your brain must constantly check whether you're thinking about it, thereby keeping the craving at the absolute center of your consciousness. You flood your nervous system with stress, elevating cortisol and making the promised dopamine release of the urge seem infinitely more rewarding. Seneca wrote in his Moral Letters, "Wild animals flee from the dangers they see. When they have escaped, their anxiety ends. But we are tormented both by what is past and what is to come. Our own mind turns upon itself." The Stoic path to mastery is not violent suppression. It is indifference and displacement. When an urge appears, you do not engage it in a wrestling match. You do not argue with the thought. If a stray dog barks at you from across a fence, you do not stop, drop to your hands and knees, and bark back. You ignore the noise and continue walking toward your destination. Acknowledge the physical sensation in your body without judgment. Label it accurately. This is a temporary dopamine spike. It is biological static. Then, immediately displace the energy. Physical desire is concentrated biological vitality. It is kinetic energy looking for an outlet. If you leave that energy stagnant in an idle room with a screen in your hand, it will overpower your rational resolve. You must transmute that raw fire into demanding, productive friction. Engage in grueling physical exertion until the nervous system settles. Immerse your intellect in complex, focused labor. Change your physical environment immediately and step out into cold air. Energy cannot be erased. It can only be redirected. When the fire flares, do not let it burn your inner fortress. Channel it into building something enduring. Musonius Rufus, the revered Stoic mentor who trained Epictetus, was regarded as one of the most practical philosophers in Roman history. Musonius taught that philosophy is not an academic theory to be debated in comfortable lecture halls. It is a daily athletic regimen for the soul. He called this practice askesis, systematic, deliberate training. Musonius made a profound observation about human nature. A man who indulges every small appetite, who reaches for food the moment he feels slight hunger, who seeks warmth the moment he feels a slight chill, and who surrenders to every trivial comfort, will inevitably crumble when struck by powerful sexual impulses or deep emotional crises. If your brain is wired to receive instant gratification in small everyday matters, it will possess zero defensive strength when a massive compulsive temptation strikes. The Stoic vaccine is the practice of voluntary hardship. Deliberate fasting, intentionally delaying your meals for half a day, not to starve the body, but to prove to your conscious mind that a physical craving is not an emergency. Cold exposure, embracing cold water and physical discomfort to remind the animal part of your brain that discomfort is harmless and that your reason remains in command. Leaving pleasures at their peak. Intentionally stopping an enjoyable activity before you are fully saturated, putting down the fork while food remains, closing the book while you still wish to read, or stepping away from leisure to re-engage with discipline. By regularly denying small, unnecessary comforts, you build neurological calluses. You train your nervous system to understand a fundamental truth. A feeling of want does not require an act of compliance. When you have practiced walking through small daily frictions by choice, an invasive compulsive urge ceases to feel like an overwhelming titan. It becomes just another minor friction you are fully equipped to endure. In the final pages of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius returns to his favorite metaphor for the disciplined mind, the inner citadel. Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. Every time a compulsive craving overtakes you, consider the true transaction taking place beneath the surface. You are not merely trading a few minutes of your time. You're trading the structural integrity of your character. You're exchanging your self-respect, your mental clarity, your deep focus, and your sovereignty for a fleeting chemical high that leaves behind a residue of fatigue, mental fog, and quiet shame. The Stoics did not advocate for temperance and self-command so that human beings could live cold, joyless, ascetic lives. They pursued self-mastery because they understood that true joy can only exist where there is true freedom. There is no genuine peace in being at the mercy of every biological breeze. There is no confidence on this earth greater than being able to stand in the presence of intense temptation, look it directly in the face, and calmly choose your own path, your own values, and your own unbroken dignity. Whenever an intrusive urge or compulsive desire attempts to seize your focus, execute the three-step anchor protocol. Deconstruct the illusion. Instantly strip the urge of its romantic exaggerations. Describe its bare physical reality with cold, objective detachment. Declare the pause. Say to the thought, "You are merely an impression, not the reality." Enforce a mandatory 3-minute delay before taking any action. Displace the energy. Change your physical posture and environment immediately. Transmute that biological fire into physical exertion, study, or purposeful work. An uncommanded mind is open territory for every passing appetite. Guard your gates. Command your thoughts. Remain the sovereign master of your internal citadel. If this masterclass brought clarity to the battles inside your mind, share this guide with someone forging their own discipline. Leave your reflections in the comments below and anchor yourself to wisdom. Subscribe to join the circle.